What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Unbiased Hard Take. We got a big basketball podcast for you guys, as promised yesterday. So, we're going to break down the classic Duke-Michigan game, where Duke won 68-63. We're also going to break down Arizona's win over Houston 73-66 and talk about NBA tanking. Stay tuned for more. You don't want to miss it. Big show. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all for tuning into this week's episode of the Unbiased Hard Take. We're just going to jump right on into it. But before we do that, I do want to remind you guys to like us on Facebook. We have a lot of daily coverage on there, a lot of updates, live updates, breakdowns, all the good stuff, sports fact of the day. So go check that out if you haven't already done so. Give us some love on Facebook. Link to that will be in the description down below, as well as subscribe on YouTube. We get a lot of our shorts hit 500 to thousands of views. We want to see those views turn into subscribers. So please don't forget to do that. And we appreciate the support from you guys as always. But as promised, football's over. So now we have a big basketball podcast, big show today. So we're just going to jump right on into it. We're going to start in the world of college basketball because I just finished watching one of the best college games of the year where Duke did defeat Michigan 68-63. This was a 2-point Duke lead at halftime, so this was just a classic game down to the wire. Michigan cut it to 1 late in the game, but ultimately Duke was just too good late. And ultimately what got this done for Duke was Cameron Boozer. Because really he's the AP player of the year this year. Double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds. Florida with a triple-double, had 7 assists as well. And you had Caleb Foster hit some big shots, 12 points for him. But ultimately what got this done for Duke was offensive rebounding. Michigan had a chance late in this game, and they simply could not get offensive rebounds. There's a point where no one boxed out for Michigan. At some point, it just truly comes down to fundamentals. There was no box out for Michigan. Duke got the offensive rebound, and then that was pretty much game over with under 30 seconds to go in the game. So this is a classic game. Michigan was the number 1 ranked team in college basketball. They obviously will not be anymore. Duke, in my opinion, deserves to be number 1. Both Michigan and Duke are 25-2. And of course, Duke just beat the number 1 ranked team. And Duke's head coach actually has over 20 wins now against AP top 25 teams. So Duke is the absolute real deal. They have the college player of the year, in my opinion, and Cameron Boozer. And it's kind of a weird college basketball season where it feels like really anyone can win. There's not really one just dominant team, because here's teams I can think of that can win. I think Arizona can win. I think Michigan can win. I think Duke can win. Purdue has a chance. So there's plenty of teams down the line. Miami, Ohio is still undefeated. That's interesting. They are a couple wins away from having an undefeated season. So this has been one of those really just sort of odd years, and it's been really refreshing for basketball. A lot of good games. This game was a showcase played in the Washington Wizards Arena, Capital One Arena Center, whatever they call it, Capital One something. So classic college basketball game down to the wire. May have been the game of the year. I was really happy with that game, and as well as the Arizona game, because Arizona for a while just struggled. They've only lost 2 games this year, started the season out undefeated, and then literally lost both of their games in a row. Dropped in the polls from 1 to 4, understandable. Then they have BYU come in, a top 25 team. They stopped the slide, and I talked about on Facebook how you can really tell how good a team is when they struggle. When they lose a couple games, do they fold like a lawn chair? Or do they overcome it? Because ultimately, you're going to have adversities, especially in college basketball when you come around to March Madness time, your conference championships, to where it's single elimination. And you're going to have times where you look at the scoreboard and you're not winning the game, or things aren't necessarily going your way. And how can you respond when things don't go your way? And Arizona's proven that they can do that. They have a 2-game losing streak, and it would have been easy for that to derail their season. Purdue had this issue earlier this year as well. They lost a couple games, and they rebounded. That's what veteran, good programs do. And Arizona's no different here. They've been one of the most consistent teams in college basketball all season long. And they get 2 back-to-back. After that losing streak, they get 2 back-to-back wins against AP top 25 teams. And 1 against, obviously, BYU, and then against number 2 ranked Houston. And actually, Arizona went into this. This is actually a really classic game, too. Arizona went in with a 5-point halftime lead, and this ended up being a relatively close game, 7-point game. So today was one of the best days for college basketball. I posted that on our Facebook page, and it did not disappoint. Both of these games were absolutely outstanding, and at one point, Arizona's defense looked like the best I've ever personally seen for a stretch there in college basketball history, in my opinion, because Houston struggled to score. They went nearly 8 minutes without in the second half, which is the crunch time half. It's one thing to do it in the first half, but you do this in the second half when the game's winding up against two powerhouse programs, and they held Houston to 0 points in 8 minutes. That's almost half of the freaking half. 20-minute halves, and for almost half of it, they held Houston to no points. Then you had Jaden Bradley made big shots down the stretch. He finished with 17 points. They had some bench players come up well. Anthony D'Orso, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Had 22 off the bench. And Ivan, I can't even say that name. Kowalski, definitely a foreigner, added 16 points. No problem with foreigners. We love foreigners on this show. Good to see a bunch of international players and things of that nature. But he added 16 points, and the Wildcats shot 25% from beyond the arc. I mean, this lead was never by more than 10 points. The Wildcats never extended the lead beyond that. So like I said, this was just two college classic games, powerhouse top 5 teams late in the basketball season. It's almost March. We're getting ready to hit conference tournaments, and March Madness selection Sunday will be soon. So this is what you want to see. We're getting ready to ramp up. Football's over, so you want football to end and then transition to college, to basketball really nicely. And it's been awesome. It's been an awesome start to that because we had two college classics. And I love to see it. Can't wait to see what March Madness brings and conference tournaments. There's a lot of teams I think can win. Like I said, I think Arizona, Houston, Duke, Purdue. I think Illinois has a chance. I mean, Michigan State always has a chance with Tom Izzo. So there's a lot of good teams this year, and it's really good for college basketball. And then really excited to see what comes this coming March. But with that, we're going to jump on in and move on here. I want to move on. We're going to talk about NBA tanking. And I'm about to go on a rant, and maybe I'm about to crash out. Because I have a bunch of notes here. Adam Silver has said that, quote, NBA tanking has, quote, let me pull the article up here, worse than it has been in a long time. They said they're talking about possibly doing penalties, anti-tanking rules next season, sources say. And there's been things talked about that, from taking draft compensation away, maybe changing the lottery odds based on 2-year records, lottery extended to play-in teams, flatten odds for all lottery teams. So there's been a lot of ideas. Silver said he's talked to all NBA 30 teams and sent a memo out and describes it as forceful and talking about safeguard of the integrity of the sport. And I've noticed something. The teams that are tanking all have something in common. They're losers. It's a losing mentality. That's all it is. Silver said the tanking has been, quote, worse this year than we've seen in recent memory, and that he's considering every possible remedy to combat that problem. So to combat this problem, ultimately it's the same teams doing it every year. It's the losers. It's the losing teams. And by that I mean mainly the Jazz and the Pacers. Because the Jazz and the Pacers have one thing in common. Let me see something here. Oh, look. When I Google and ask the internet who are some of the greatest players to never win championships, oh, look. A lot of Pacers and a lot of Jazz players make the list. Reggie Miller, no championship. Karl Malone, John Stockton, no championships. As a matter of fact, that neither the Jazz or the Pacers have won championships. And why does that matter? Because both of these teams have been in the news recently for tanking. To where I have news here to where the Jazz were fined $50,000 for obvious tanking. And I mean, I'm looking at the Jazz first, because at one point they were just straight up, they're not even trying to hide it at this point. I mean, they're just flat out not playing players late in games, they could care less about winning. And people are saying, oh, they struck out in free agency. They don't have any good players. Lauri Markkanen's been an all-star, and they're wasting his prime. His prime is going to be a laughingstock because the Jazz are more interested in draft picks than they are winning basketball games. Number one, that's bad for fan experience. When fans buy, it's a hard economy out there. When people buy tickets, they want to go see the best players. They want to go see starter players, all-star players. They want to see Lauri Markkanen play. They want to see Kyle Filipowski play, Ace Bailey. They want to see these players. And you're resting these level of players, and they're not even hurt, but you're paying them this massive contract and still charging out the ass for people to come watch courtside NBA games when your product is garbage anyway. You've never won a championship. You should be letting people in for free. What have you done? Absolutely nothing. And you're telling me you can't compete with Lauri Markkanen, who's made an all-star team? And decent players around him. Filipowski's been a very good NBA player as well. Ace Bailey's been a good rookie this year as well. You're telling me you can't compete with those level of players? Sounds like a coaching or a management or a culture problem. And it obviously is, because you had one of the best point guards in Karl Malone, two of the best players to ever play together, and you couldn't even win a championship because your team's a joke. The Pacers are no different. They were fined by the NBA $100K for tanking their coach, Rick Carlisle, who's supposed to be one of the best, who's supposed to be a basketball state. The Pacers are a laughingstock too. They're a miserable franchise too. Never won a championship. Oh, but they almost won last year. They got to Game 7. Look at us. We're the Pacers, second place losers. Look at us. Ho, 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 ho. Basketball state. How can you call yourself a basketball state when your professional team's never won a championship? Reggie Miller is one of the most overrated players in history. So is Karl Malone and John Stockton, because they couldn't win championships. They're all three losers. The Pacers and their fan base, all of them are losers. Where's your championship? Till you win a championship, you can't argue it. You're tanking too, and Rick Carlisle had no comment when asked about tanking. Think about that for a minute. No comment. That shows guilt right there. That's like asking someone, hey, you're being charged for murder. Did you murder this person? No comment. Oh, really? You don't want to defend yourself? Okay. That shows guilt right there. There's a reason these teams don't have championships. The Wizards tank a lot too. They lose all the time too. So do the Hornets. These tanking teams they're all the same teams. They never win championships. They're losers. And one of them calls themselves a basketball state. All because they had some injuries. I understand the Pacers did have some injuries, but they still have Pascal Siakam, who's the best player on the Pacers. Halliburton's not. He proved that last finals. And the last playoffs, scoring under 10 points multiple games. Pascal Siakam was the most consistent player on the Pacers, and you still have him healthy. But you're resting him, not playing him. Seemed fine on All-Star Weekend, but now he's out for personal reasons. Yeah, okay. Bunch of losers. They should lose their draft picks. People say, oh, you can't do that. It's not like the NFL. They don't have 7 picks. I don't care. Take away all the draft picks. Do it for multiple seasons. Take the draft picks away for 5 years. You can't get a draft pick for 5 years. It's integrity of the game at this point. These fans deserve good products. I'm a man of the fans. These billionaires, these billionaire owners, billionaire coaches, and millionaire players, all these rich people, they don't care about the normal guy. They don't care about the fans. If they did, they wouldn't tank. If they did, they would play when they're healthy. They wouldn't be out for personal matters. I'm calling Bolt BS on personal matters because he's seen fine at the All-Star game. I don't know. I think they should lose their draft picks. It should be maybe even ban some of the players that are tanking, maybe even the coaches. Kick them out of the league, ban them. Integrity of the sport. They're cheating. You can ban Pete Rose for cheating from baseball. You can suspend Sean Payton for a whole season for his issue with the Saints for Bountygate. The Patriots with Deflategate and Spygate. You can punish NFL teams heavily and MLB teams heavily. Take away the draft picks for 5 years. Make it impossible for them to tank because they won't have any assets to do it. You have to crush it. You can't just sort of put your foot in and half-ass do it, and you can't do that. You have to full-own own their ass. I'm heated. is integrity of the game. The Pacers are a joke. The Jazz are a joke. They should lose their draft picks for the next 5 years. College teams take away scholarships. They have that in the past. Done that in the past. Suspended players. So everyone does it except the NBA. Because there's no accountability in the NBA. Never has been. So if you're tanking, and it's proven like the Jazz and Pacers have done, you should lose your draft picks for the next 5 years. First and second round. Make it impossible for these teams to rebuild and tank. Because I guarantee you do that, you have to make an example out of one team, everyone else will fall in line because you'll ruin their future. And you should. Integrity of the game is number one. But that's all I have for today's Unbiased Hard Take. Wanted to crash out there on that a little bit. Do want to talk about Rondell Moore. Rest in peace to him. It came out a couple hours ago. He was a Purdue player and played for the Arizona Cardinals and most recently was with the Minnesota Vikings. They haven't released what happened to him yet. But either way, rest in peace. Whenever you have a loss of life, especially as a Christian like I am, it's just sad to see. And the Purdue legend as well, so boiler up. Purdue got to win over IU as well. That was great. We talked about that in yesterday's video. But until next time, that's really all I got. Go Pat, go. Let's go Heat. Boiler up as always. We appreciate support from you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of the show. And we will see you all next week.